Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Goblin RIDES Podcast. And again, I'm joined today by the lovely Wifey. How are you doing, Wifey?
I'm good.
We missed out a show last week because I've been quite ill.
Yeah.
I had tonsillitis last week, and then so I've got antibiotics for it, but that's been followed up by a cold now as well, which is a bit weird because usually it'd be the other way around.
Yeah.
You have the cold first and then tonsillitis second. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, that really annoying because I haven't had a chance to shoot any videos either over this weekend, or I didn't shoot any last weekend either. So I've got a bit of catching up to do. But yeah, a bit annoying really, to be honest. You know, I hate being ill. Just ruins everything.
Everything has to stop, doesn't it?
Exactly. Any plans that you have just get absolutely ruined by being ill. But anyway, I mean, what else have we been up to this week, I suppose? Oh, our TV broke, didn't it, the other day?
So sad.
Our big TV
So sad.
broke in the living room.
And then we accidentally slipped and brought a bigger TV, didn't we?
Yeah, we got an
Completely
upgrade.
accidental.
So our old TV was a 65-inch TV. This time we've got an 85-inch QLED 4K TV as well. So
We went to actually look at them today, didn't we, and see what the size of them. They are ridiculously big.
I've seen 85-inch TVs before. So I've seen 80-inch TVs before. So I do kind of know how big they
You
are.
had a frame of reference. I had no frame of reference.
Yeah, true. I mean, this was in work, but it's a bit different when you see in the warehouse how big it is, and then putting it in the room. I think is when we're going to really know how big that TV is going to be.
Yeah.
But
I just have this fear that the wall's going to fall down.
no, it's not. It won't be that much heavier than the TV we have in there currently. If anything, it might even be lighter.
Yeah. But that's something we've done, isn't it? So
Yeah, that's arriving tomorrow. The new TV. I was thinking actually, how are we going to get it in the house? The box might be too big to get in the house. First world problems, eh?
Mm.
But yeah, that's an issue for tomorrow, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there hasn't been anything else, is there? I don't think this week that's been interesting at all.
No, there's been a couple of things.
Yeah, what else?
So I started playing The Witcher and I stopped playing The Witcher because I've just found it boring, to be honest with you. I just can't get to grips with it. The thing is, I gave it 5 hours. So it's not like I've signed in for like an hour and then gone, I gave it 5 hours. I think I've given it a good try. I think I'll go back to it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's the game for me. And I started playing Fallout 4 instead because we watched the Fallout series.
Yep.
Well, you rewatched it. I watched it for the first time.
Very, very good show, the Fallout show.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, I heavily recommend it.
So we have been up to bits. There's lots of odd bits around you being ill.
Yeah, pretty much. But tell you what, you guys, if you've never had tonsillitis before, oh my God, it is horrendous. It hurts when you breathe. It hurts when you talk. It hurts when you eat. The only thing that you can eat that is okay is ice cream. So it's a great excuse to get lots and lots of ice cream in. But yeah, man, that is awful. And the only thing that can fix it is antibiotics. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, horrendous. Do you want to let him out, or?
He's just barking at squirrels.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But yeah, okay. So today's main topic is gonna blur some lines a little bit because we did do a video recently, which I think this one's gonna hit very similar notes on. But it's whether or not you're going to die riding a motorcycle. Now, I think the issue approaching this topic is that, well, I haven't lived a full life yet. So how am I going to know? You know what I mean? Like, if we ask like a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old, what would their answer be to that question? I feel like it's only a question that really motorcycle skeptics need to know about. Anyone who is a motorcycle enthusiast or has an interest in riding bikes, they're going to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they're going to hear it all the time from other people that don't quite understand the hobby that, oh, you're going to die.
As soon as you mention, oh, I'm buying a bike or I'm going to start riding, there's always someone who knows someone who's had a fatal accident.
Yeah, or crashed or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm sure there's people that know someone who was also in a car crash. It's just the way how things go. But if there's one thing that a lot of these people probably don't realize is that a lot of it is down to the rider and how you ride the bike. If you ride the bike sensibly, then obviously you're going to have a significantly better chance of having a full, successful riding career without too many problems. And then obviously that leaves you more in control of the bike and what have you. So it does make sense that the more sensible you're on a bike, the higher the chances of you not getting in a crash, right? Same in a car, same pretty much if you do anything for the most part. But yeah, I mean, because recently, so we did a video about whether or not you have to be brave or stupid to ride bikes. And to be honest with you, like, you have to be competent, you have to be confident, you have to be competent, you have to practice, but no one's going to be an expert overnight. And it's just one of those things that you have to get used to. But at the same time, if you're risk averse, then it's going to be harder for you to get into than if you're not as risk averse, if you know what I mean. Because it means that you can actually enjoy the experience rather than be worried about crashing all the time, if you know what I mean. And to someone like me, the experience the benefits far outweigh the risk. And that's that's why people do things like that all the time. That's why people go on roller coasters. That's why people do wing surfing. Is it wing gliding or whatever it's called? I can't remember. Is that what it's called? Anyway, like parachuting or what have you. Skydiving, bungee jumping. All these things that some people might seem risk averse, people might seem are a bit crazy. To someone like me, are actually quite therapeutic. And the thing is as well, like I'm putting riding bikes and parachuting in the same context, but they're totally different contexts. Totally different. Parachuting, you don't really have that much in your control. Like, no. You've got this cord that you have to pull to make sure that the parachute comes out, but that's all the control you have. If that doesn't work, then you're falling to your death. Whereas on a bike, you are in full control of what you're doing. So, again, but people, they have a habit of putting these things in the same breath when that's absolutely not true whatsoever. You will not die riding a motorcycle, and you will not die doing things like parachuting, bungee jumping. Accidents happen, sure, but they're few and far between, man. And I suppose it depends on where you do your parachuting or what have you. And I suppose what bike you're riding. If you're riding something that is really cheap, that hasn't been well maintained, things like that, and that's going to increase your risk of something bad happening because either the tires aren't that great or the brakes don't work. So I suppose a lot of it does come down to the equipment that you have as well. But overall, for me, that is one of those statements that is ridiculous and doesn't make a lot of sense. It's, again, a risk-averse person who not quite understanding the hobby and making making judgments or assumptions about it. But, well, look, I think you're a good person to ask about this because obviously you have retired from riding for the time being. And
yeah.
And I mean, of course, some of that is going to be down to the fear and what have you. But you've had that experience of being on both sides of things. So I mean, I say that, like, you'll still ride pillion with me. So it's not like a fear thing, I don't think. But what would it be for you?
The thing is, my dad has been riding as long as I can remember. So I've never had this, like, and my uncle and my granddad as well, to be fair. So I've never had this thought that it's dangerous. That thought's never really crossed my mind because I've grown up with it. So I don't know if I am the right person to ask. I haven't got like this preconceived notion of, oh my gosh, it's so dangerous. Everyone's going to perish.
Yeah, everyone's stupid. Yeah. Everyone who does it is stupid, yeah.
But
as a death wish.
Being a driver and a part-time rider, pillion, whatever, you do see people do stupid things on the road. So you can see accidents happen, of course. Like you said, that's inevitable.
But again, a lot of it is in your control as well.
Yeah.
anticipating those kinds of things happening before they happen and reacting to them well in advance of when they happen is one of those skills that you have to develop.
Yeah, but I don't agree. I don't think you have to be brave or stupid. I don't agree with that as...
again, it's a null statement, isn't it?
Because to me, you have to be confident in yourself. Things like bravery you get with time.
Yeah, experience.
To get faster, to go up to 70 on the motorway, you get that with time. That bravery, which I would actually bracket as confidence, that ability, comes in time. Stupidity is a different thing. I think stupidity comes when you don't treat the machine well.
Yeah,
stupidity is where you don't look after it, or you push it beyond your own means, things that you can't do with it. And this I could say this applies to cars as well, because if you push a car and you can't control it, it's the same thing as a bike. You're gonna go off the road, you're gonna have an accident.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Is that if you get into a crash in either driving a car or riding a bike, once you're in that situation, it's out of your control what happens.
Yeah.
By that point, it's already too late. Already, what was in your control no longer applies.
No.
So it's a game of luck at that point, and that's kind of like my argument towards it, is that if you're riding a motorcycle, what you have to try and do is get the odds in your favor that a crash isn't going to happen to begin with.
Yeah.
But it's not a difficult skill to learn, because a lot of it comes down to you as a person and how you ride the bike. If you ride the bike sensibly, I don't like to judge riders for how they ride, but at the same time, you can kind of look at a rider and their habits and immediately identify that they might have some trouble one day. You know what I mean? But
I think for me, there's things that riders can do which are brave, like track days. I think there are people incredibly brave who do track days in racing because of how fast they go. To me, that's really brave. Yeah. And there's things that people do which are really stupid, like I don't know.
Don't say wheelies.
I wasn't going to.
Because wheelies are cool.
I was going to say things more like, not wearing proper shoes or trousers when they're riding. To me, that's stupid. So the things you can do, elements of riding where you can be stupid, or you can do elements where you can be brave, but you don't have to be inherently either to do it as a hobby to enjoy.
But don't you think that that's a person's choice, though, to wear their gear?
Yes, it is.
Like, obviously, I encourage everyone to do that, but there have been occasions where I haven't worn all my gear.
And
that's I'm not saying that is a good thing. I'm just saying that, it, again, I don't like to think of myself as that risk averse. But
what I think I'm trying to get at is being brave or being stupid is subjective to who's doing it and who's watching it.
Yeah.
So you may think going out in just your t-shirt, your gloves, some trousers, and your boots, and your helmet, you're fine. Someone else might look at you and go, "What a pillock."
Well, yeah, people do.
And that's the thing, because everyone's got, like you say, everyone has their own risk rating that they rate themselves on. Mm-hmm. So you don't necessarily have to be stupid or brave or confident or whatever. Well, confidence, absolutely, on a bike, but you don't have to be labelled as brave or stupid. Yeah. That's how other people are going to see you, not how you see yourself.
The thing, I do want to try and differentiate the subject, though, a little bit between the video that we've already done and today. Yeah. Because
I didn't get a chance to weigh in on
that.
Yeah,
so it's just to I know. And again, I do think that there's a lot of grey area between the two subjects. But when it comes to the inevitability of passing early because of a particular hobby or something like that, I don't think motorcycles fits into that category.
I don't think it's any more or less dangerous than doing something like bungee jumping or parachuting.
Well,
because as soon as you do something which requires like an adrenaline rush or something that requires, I don't know.
But bikes do the same thing, though. They give you adrenaline. They can give you an adrenaline rush as well.
But this is one of those things that when people say, "Oh, you're gonna die early. Get on that bike, you're gonna die." I could walk out my front door and get hit by a bus, and the same thing.
Do you know what? Right? So no one has ever said that to me to my face. but I hear it on the grapevine from other people.
Really?
Yeah, like a great example is when I worked at this company, and my mum worked there as well. So, and I don't know how they got into this conversation, but my mum was talking to one of her colleagues. We worked in different teams, but she talked to one of her colleagues, and it got out that I ride bikes, and this other person said, why are you letting him do that? Because apparently they rode bikes as well. They got into an accident and broke their leg, and ever since then they've stopped riding.
But whose fault was the accident?
Well, I don't know. There's no context. There's no context whatsoever. But pretty much at that, this person, because of their own experiences, through their own fault or not, they have been put off by the hobby, and that's perfectly fine. Again, I mean, there's nothing stopping someone who isn't risk averse becoming risk averse. You know, I mean, I think a lot of us become more cautious over time, but I didn't hear it from this person directly. I heard it back from my mum after the fact, and it's like, okay, great, that's your opinion, I guess. I mean, what do you say to that? You know, you can't convince someone that someone who already has that preconceived notion of it, that it is dangerous or that you are going to die. You can't convince them otherwise. But the problem is, though, is that a lot of the time, especially when you're starting off riding, you are kind of reliant on your mum and dad giving you the thumbs up, saying, yes, you can do this.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, as much as I understand that mums and dads they want to be protective of their kids and all that, at the same time, that is ruining the hobby. To be fair, there are other factors involved, like the riding test standards that we have these days, and how to get your motorcycle license. That is all confusing, convoluted, unnecessary, and does put off younger riders for sure. But you still have to get over that hurdle of talking to your mum and dad about it and being like, look, I want to get into bikes, will you let me? And I remember having this conversation with my mum and dad, and my mum was very against it. My dad was indifferent about it. But the thing is, though, again, like, I don't think my dad is that risk averse either. I think it does kind of depend on the parents that you have. But again, you can, I mean, wait, we're talking about risk averse people, like they never ride bikes. There are risk averse people that ride bikes. You know what I mean? So again, you've got that grey area there where you've got people who we are talking about right now who are also getting involved in hobbies that other people would consider far too risky. So it just doesn't make it's such a funny thing to talk about, because you're taking a lot of elements of human psychology and how they're interpreting something, how they're making assumptions, how they're judging something, either without doing it or hearing something bad happening through the grapevine. But it's okay. Let's just answer the question straight away. Will you die from riding a motorcycle? No, you will not. It depends on you as the person, how you treat the bike, how you ride the bike. If you ride the bike sensibly, then you won't have any trouble, you know? I mean, I think I've been riding long enough now to understand whether or not a motorcycle is incredibly risky or incredibly not, right? I don't find riding a motorcycle any more or less risky than driving my car. But a lot of it is because I drive my car in a similar fashion. I have similar disciplines, similar kinds of focus, similar attitudes to what I'm doing in that moment, you know, how I'm observing things going on. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, is that you observe what's happening as much as you can. If you are able to do that, if you're able to learn how to do that, then again, that minimizes the risk of you dying, so to speak.
It is funny because when you say, you know, you talk to your parents and that, and I remember having the conversation with my dad when I was like 19 that I was interested in at least looking at motorbikes. And the first thing he said to me was, obviously he wants to support anything I want to do, but could I do my driving test first? That is only stipulation, was do my driving test first.
That's so interesting.
Because he wanted me to know kind of like, I don't know, I guess the rules of the road and like stuff like that before getting on a bike, and I could then focus on just riding the bike and not having to worry about so many other things at the same time.
I know where he was coming from, because it's learning how the roads work and getting confident and has a perception, it's always better to do it in a car because obviously you've got that protective shell around you.
Yeah.
My counter argument to that, and because I have to defend this because this is how I did it, is that if you start learning on a motorcycle, you start realizing how dangerous everything is very quickly.
Yeah.
And you have a bit more awareness of your vulnerability.
I think,
and if you have that, you get that, and you apply that to a car, you're going to have a very different perception of what's going on around you.
Now, I don't know if this is because I am his only daughter, or because both my brothers have been in car accidents by this point. But that was kind of, I think it was like that kind of, I don't want you to be in a position of having to learn because you're in danger. But just, it's funny because I got my only bike when I was 29. So I came to it very, very late, fine. And do you remember I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I'm just running this past you. I'm a fully functioning married adult.
Well, you weren't married then.
My bike arrived just after we got married. Didn't we?
I thought it was the year before.
Oh, it was the year before.
2021 is when we got married.
Okay. I was a fully functioning woman about to get married because we were engaged and planned at that point.
We were homeowners and fully functioning adults.
Yeah, and I'd looked after a dog for a while. I'd moved counties. I was proving that I could be an adult and I could definitely, survive and whatnot. And I still called him and was like, I'm just running this past you. And do you know what the first thing he said was?
What was that?
He was like, what do you think? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, what does he think? But, I still called my dad and double checked. But I think there's
this respect, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
I wanted him to kind of, know that was the plan. That's what I was doing. And obviously very excited. But this is the thing. I've been really fortunate that no one in my life has really questioned me doing it. Not even my brothers, I don't think.
I thought I heard something.
Well, I think one of them...
It might not have been from your brothers, but maybe one of their spouses.
I think one of them was a little bit jealous because they hadn't done it. And I was able to then... I was just pursuing something that they'd wanted to do.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe a bit of jealousy there, but I don't think it was anything nefarious. But I think... Yeah, you do come across, and these people, you're quite right, these people who are like, oh, it's nice knowing you, are ones who have never been on a bike and probably will never get on one because someone has told them a story about someone else, or, they've watched too much Top Gear and seen Richard Hammond come off or something, and it's put them off.
Do you know what? The thing I respect about you is you had the balls to do it, to actually try it out. The fact that afterwards you've been like, okay, I don't think it's for me right now. I don't have any issues with that. The thing I don't like is when people make assumptions on things that they don't understand, they have not experienced before.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's ignorance of the highest order. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not right for someone to sit here and go, you know what? Everyone who touches a motorbike is cursed. You're all going to die.
You have a death wish. You're riding a death trap.
Yeah.
You'll hear all that kind of stuff all the time,
Yeah.
and it is absolutely ridiculous.
And these are people who have probably, for the most part, never looked into it. Now, I know that you had someone mention to your mum because they'd had an accident, but that scared them. Fine. My parents have had accidents, and the first thing they did was they got back on the bike.
Yeah, so have I. I've come off my bikes whilst I've been riding.
Because you have to, otherwise this fear sets in, and that's when you become dangerous because you have fear and you're not being sensible.
Yeah, that's probably that's one of those points actually that we should emphasize is that when your confidence gets knocked like that, it makes you a lot more hesitant.
It does.
And when it comes to making quick decisions, like you have to do driving a car, but riding a bike as well, the same thing applies. You have to be decisive.
Yeah.
You can't be in between minds about what action you're going to take at any given time. You have to just take it. And that's probably the biggest issue to riding motorcycles, is that you don't have much of a chance to think about stuff. I mean, whereas in a car, you have the same or similar amount of reaction time. At least if you make the wrong decision, it's not gonna. You have a pretty good chance of surviving because you've got this shell around you, you've got your airbags and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas on a motorcycle, you don't. You have your helmet, you've got your leathers and things like that. So inherently, riding a motorcycle is more dangerous, because if you put both a car and a bike in the same scenario, the bike is going to end off worse. Whether that's fatal or whether if it's injuries, they are going to come worse off from something like that than someone who drives a car. But by the same token, no two people are exactly the same, and no two situations are exactly the same.
No.
Because I truly believe that motorcyclists, for the most part, are better road users than drivers are. They're more aware. They're more hazard perceptive. They're just more perceptive in general. They're able to predict things. Because again, when you look at it, right, you think, again, you put a driver and a motorcyclist in the same scenario, you'd think that there'd be a lot more motorcycle deaths. Because there is literally nothing protecting you apart from your jacket, your helmet. If you're traveling at 30 mile an hour and you get in a crash, a helmet, a jacket isn't going to protect you that much. If it does, it's only going to protect you from dying. You're still going to get injuries. So it's amazing to me how motorcycle deaths aren't higher than they are.
Yeah.
And that is because of the motorcyclist perception. That is because of their skills. That's because of their road awareness. That's why the numbers are so low. And people think it's high. It's not that high. When you think about it, it's like 0.0003% of road users die because of riding motorcycles. That's ridiculous. 0.003 chance of dying, which is crazy. It's such low numbers. You have more chance of getting hit by lightning or something ridiculous like that. It's stupid. But anyway, it's because of that look, isn't it, that you are so vulnerable. But at the same time, you're only as vulnerable as you make yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to, you guys. But look, I mean, how long? I've nearly been riding 20 years. That's a whole generation. That's a whole lifetime of a motorcycle career. And I've not come close. Nowhere close to passing. Nowhere close. And that's, through mistakes that I've made as a beginner, through mistakes that I make now, it's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, one person that might be a great person to ask would be your dad, because obviously he's been riding for 40 years, 30 years, something like that. It's been a long time. He's had a very long career.
Yeah, he always. I don't know if this is true, if it's a joke, but he said that at the time he got his license, he just had to turn up. Yeah,
pretty much that was the case back then.
So yeah, for easily 40 years.
And has he ever come close to dying on a motorcycle?
No, he's had accidents and come off, but he's never.
We've all come off the bikes, but that's not the same thing. Coming off a motorcycle and being close to death are not the same thing.
No.
You can come off a motorcycle at 100 mile an hour, more than 100 mile an hour, and be absolutely fine. Like, the reason why I know that is because you just watch the MotoGP. You watch the World Superbikes. If they come off their bikes and they're sliding along the ground, they're absolutely fine. They literally get back up after traveling over 100 mile an hour. They get back up and try and ride the bike again. The bike is in a worse shape than they are.
Yeah.
And so it's only an issue if you crash, and that things will happen where you'll drop the bike or what have you, you'll come off the bike. But it's even less likely that you'll actually crash into something or someone, I don't know. Again, you're never going to convince people, but at the same time, if you are a younger rider trying to convince your mum and dad that this is a safe thing to do, you can either show them this video or you can say, trust me. Because that's really what is important, that they trust you to ride it properly, to ride it safely. And whether you do or you don't, it doesn't really matter. I mean, that's up to you really afterwards. But just getting involved in the hobby to begin with, I think having that trust is probably the most important. But does that make sense?
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're trying to get into a hobby, you're either trying to convince your mum and dad, or you're trying to convince your significant other that you want to do this, and they have reservations, so to speak, then yeah, ask them to trust you. Guilt trip them. So you don't trust me or something? Oh, so you believe I would cheat on you, but you don't trust me to ride a bike? Not joking. Don't guilt trip them. Be honest about it, and be, you know, upfront that yes, there are risks involved, but there are risks doing anything in life. And at least with a motorcycle, you have the options, you have the choices, you can make the choices, you're in control of what's going on. So I mean, and that should be enough, you know. But yeah, I mean, look, we've got to have our dinner, so we're cooking a stew tonight. We have a stew pot, so just let that brew whilst we're doing the podcast today. But this is going to come out on a Monday. I mean, we're filming this on Sunday. It's going to come out tomorrow. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd way around to do it, but literally just because I was ill last week, so I didn't really have much choice in the matter. I don't think you would have wanted to hear me with a croaky voice or what have you. I'm still producing an unholy amount of snot, but
On that note, we're going to go eat. Lovely.
nom 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 nom. But thank you ever so much for joining us on our podcast today, you guys. I hope that this has helped you out, and especially if you are trying to convince some important people in your lives that you want to do this, and why you want to do this, and why you think it's going to be beneficial for you. And you know, I mean, you might do it for a year or 2 years and stop. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry about that. That at least you would have had that chance to get that experience in and know 100% whether or not it's a hobby that's for you or not. But yeah, thank you ever so much, everybody. Don't forget to leave that like, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell so you don't miss any more of our podcast going forward. But thank you again. Take care. Ride safe. We will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.